And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, September 15th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories right here can also be found at our website, IndianCountryNews.com or IndianCountryTV.com. And here are some of the news stories for the day. Lawyers for Colorado and Southern Ute Tribe were considering their next steps after a judge threw out rules regarding water pumped from below ground during cold bed methane drilling on the tribe's reservation. The judge last week upheld rules by the state engineer that allowed some oil and gas wells in the state to be exempt from getting water well permits for their operations, but he also said the rules shouldn't apply within the Southern Ute Reservation because it is unclear who has jurisdiction over water. The lawsuit was filed by a coalition of cities, ranchers, and citizens. It was part of the fallout over a Colorado Supreme Court ruling that said water pumped out during coal bed methane production qualified for regulation under state water laws. A Niobrara man has been sentenced to more than 3 years in federal prison for causing a crash that killed one of his passengers and seriously injured another. U.S. Attorney for Nebraska, Deborah Gilg, announced the 21-year-old Mark Henry was sentenced this week to 37 months in prison for motor vehicle homicide and drunken driving convictions. Authorities said Henry had been drinking for over 2 hours on March 20th when he drove two others around the Santee Sioux Reservation. Investigators say he was speeding when he lost control of the vehicle, which flipped several times. Authorities said Henry's blood alcohol level was more than 3 times the legal driving limit. The U.S. Attorney's Office says the former chairman of the Chippewa-Cree Tribal Business Council has been sentenced to more than a year in prison in order to pay nearly $59,000 in restitution for using a tribal credit card for personal use. Raymond Jake Parker Jr. was sentenced this Monday in Great Falls, Montana to 16 months in prison after pleading guilty in May to theft from an Indian tribal organization. He will be on supervised release for 3 years after he finishes his prison term. A federal order for one of the nation's largest tribes in the United States to restore voting rights and benefits to about 2,800 descendants of members, former slaves, threw plans for a special election for a new chief into turmoil September 13th. The federal government sent a sternly worded letter to the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma after the nation sent letters last week kicking the descendants out of the tribe and stripping them of benefits including medical care, food stipends, and assistance for low-income homeowners. The tribe also barred the descendants from voting in a September 24th special election for principal chief. The Cherokee Supreme Court ordered the special election after it said it could not determine with certainty the outcome of a close and hotly contested June election between incumbent Chad Smith and longtime tribal councilman Bill John Baker. The results had flip-flopped between the two during weeks and counts and recounts. The federal government said that unless the descendants known as Freedmen were allowed to vote, the upcoming election would not be valid. We also note that Cherokee Nation members can vote early in the special election for principal chief beginning this Saturday. Tribal officials say early voting will be allowed at the tribe's election commission office on Saturday and on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. Joe Sando, who became the first Pueblo member to chronicle life in the tribe as a historian and writer, passed away September 13th. He was 88. He passed of natural causes at an assisted living center in Albuquerque, said his publisher and friend Marcia Keegan. Sando had been an active member and founder of a number of boards, councils, and commissions on Native American issues. He was widely known for his work on Pueblo life, with historians and scholars crediting him for being the first scholar from any of the New Mexico Pueblos to tackle that life from an insider's point of view. Sando was survived by his wife of 61 years, Louise Berry Sando. A mass was scheduled for September 16th at Queens of Angels Indian Chapel. Opponents of a nickel and copper mine plan for Michigan's Upper Peninsula hope to persuade a Lansing judge to delay implementation of a state permit that would allow drilling to go forward. Circuit Judge Paul DeMain heard arguments September 14th from attorneys representing opposition groups, including the National Wildlife Federation and the Keweenaw Bay Indian Community of Michigan. They say Kennecott Eagle Minerals Company shortly will begin blasting rock to create the underground mine's entrance. Opponents want Manderfield to delay the blasting until she rules on their appeal of the State Department of Environmental Quality's decision to give Kennecott a mining permit. They say the project would endanger water quality in rural Marquette County. Kennecott and the DEQ say the company's plans underwent close scrutiny and is environmentally sound. If you're interested in justice for Anime Pictuakwash and/or Perry Ray Robinson Jr., the black civil rights worker killed inside Wounded Knee in 1973, or if you have information that might be helpful in resolving the case and returning his remains to his family in Detroit, Michigan, please contact Unsolved Mysteries and Murders at the website unsolved.com and submit an email from the top gold link which asks you for a new story submission. Your assistance is greatly appreciated by both his family and his friends. And that is another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. Thank you for joining with us, and you come back again soon.